think we're live with the Chasing Dirt show for Monday, September 8th. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing
Everything's
well, doing
good.
well. Appreciate the opportunity to get some time with you today. Jerry and I
Yeah.
do this every Monday at 4 o'clock East Coast time and every Friday at 11 o'clock East Coast time. Every Friday we try to have a guest. We had a great one last week with Maggie with the background check company. I thought that was pretty interesting. So
Yes, she was great. It was a good job.
yeah, we got pretty good views on that. I just dropped her an email. We've got like 1,500 views on that one, so that was a good turnout there. And I think one of the questions, man, that came out of that, and you asked it, and I'll bring that up, but you asked the question that we were asking about. And I think one of the things she was recommending that if you do have employees driving vehicles to and from work, whether it be a company vehicle, but also their own personal vehicle, is there any kind of background check you need to do on that? And she did have a DMV report that she can pull as well, and she did recommend that. But what was the question you asked out of that?
Yeah, I think so. Typically, when we hire employees and they don't always come to the office, they typically go directly to their site to work, and they might do multiple sites. And I guess my question was, and keeping in mind, we're not legal experts at all, Jack and I. We don't claim to be, and we're not offering legal advice to you. So let's make sure that disclaimer's out there because
What about financial advice?
no, I'm
Okay,
just kidding. We'll
okay.
see. But we, so the question was, what is the liability on the company? You know, when an employee drives from their car to their first building, it's on them. It's like coming to work for everybody. It's the first leg. Everybody goes to work. You know, it's on your personal insurance. But in between, if you have multiple sites, if that employee goes to building A at 5 and then building B at 7 and they drive in between on the clock, um, what is the liability on the company? And, you know, a while back when we ran our company, you know, that was always a concern, but we never dug into it much. And so we posed that question to Maggie, and she did some digging for us to
Very quickly
see. And
digging.
yeah, and it was interesting. It's just an interesting question because I don't know that we always think about or talk about those things. And especially if you're a smaller company, you're like, man, I'm getting this covered. I don't care. But you got to make sure your insurance is correct to protect yourself and protect your entity and your employees too. You don't want your employees, you know, out there running around in personal vehicles doing business and having a problem. So here's what she came up with. So
She came back with, again, we're not legal counsel, so consult your insurance and your local
lawyer.
authorities as possible. Just in case you guys are wondering, this is our community as well. So anybody who wants to join it is community.getroute.com. Free to join. Jerry and I are sticking a wealth of information here. We do run our mentorship courses out of here as well. As you'll see courses in here. You won't be able to get access to those unless you become part of the mentorship program. But we do have a section in here, the Q&A, that we kind of monitor. But one of the Q&As, again, that Jerry came up with, if you're driving between multiple job sites after you arrive to your first job site, what is the liability if an accident occurs? And I think what she says, her first point, personal auto insurance comes first. So we assume that. The second one is employer liability. If the worker is classified as an employee, the employer can be pulled in under vicarious liability. That's a respondent superior. Again, translation. If this accident occurs while they're on the job, the company can be sued. Again, you can sue anybody, but this was kind of the eye opener that for me is that if they are traveling between locations in their personal vehicle, they do have some risk that the company is exposed to. And I think this is a different coverage policy. I talked to one of our insurance providers this morning that we're exploring some things with, and they said this is an outlier that you need to think about. Not everyone takes advantage of it, but they said it is an outlier that can catch you if you're not careful. So,
yes, and I think it's important not only to have a great insurance coverage and a great insurance um, I guess a great insurance manager, agent, whatever you want to call them, but review that stuff often. And to me, the great insurance guy is the one where policies or laws change and they reach out to you and they say, hey, I think this could affect you, and they bring it to your attention. Yes, is it, are they going to charge you more money for things when they happen? Probably, but the reason for insurance is to protect ourselves and our entity and our personal assets, from being drawn into, just situations inside the organization, or anytime you have employees, things happen. And so I think it's very important to make sure you review it, um, and make sure that you have the proper type of insurance. And I think it's documented here in this question. So,
Yeah, here's the term she came back with, and I confirmed with the insurance company, but having hired and non-owned auto liability. I think that's the
yeah.
term. Hired and non-owned auto liability is something you need to ask about if you have not asked that angle and you have a lot of employees who are traveling from multiple locations throughout their time on the clock. So that anyway, that was a an eye opener. And again, as we get more of these type of questions, we'll post these in the community. And I think just a good reference point and something I'm sure we'll talk about at some point again. But
Yeah.
I thought that was a
Yeah.
great question. And again, Maggie said it best with the background checks. Not to push that, but the whole thing is it takes one situation to occur to ruin your reputation, financially hurt you in a very bad way, just one simple lawsuit. So everything you built, I think that's what you're trying to do is avoid those little outliers that can destroy not only personal but also your business as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I would encourage people too, Jack. A lot of people work as an LLC, just a plain simple LLC. I would encourage you to become a S corporation, or at least some kind of corporation, for your own personal protection. And the way I like to say it is, an S corporation is the big umbrella, the big insurance umbrella that all of your LLCs might be in. So if you have two or three LLCs for your company, there's still this big umbrella. And what happens is umbrella protects your organization, but more so, it protects your personal life. So your personal assets and finances in life are over here under their own insurance. And if something happens under this umbrella of an S corporation, that stuff's protected. And it's not affected by that. So that's, to me, I mean, people can dig in and dig in and dig in, but that's the best kind of protection to have. And so, to me, I would say to people, consult your insurance agent and say, I want my personal assets protected. I want the best coverage I can have for my business, my assets, my employees, all that stuff. It's just, if you don't do it right, it will cost you in the long run. It for sure
Jer-
will.
Just out of interest, Jerry, when you ran your business, what was the worst event that occurred from you from a liability standpoint? What, if you can share? I don't know if you can share. Don't high level details, but what was the worst event that occurred?
To be honest with you, it was right at the end. Everything else was fairly minuscule, but I had a crew going out on a job, and got on the interstate at rush hour, and there was a little, everybody trying to merge, and they didn't do anything wrong. They were sitting, and somebody hit them from behind. Um, and internally, an employee got hurt and pulled everybody into it for liability purposes. The driver that hit them, the driver's insurance, our insurance, us, it was a real train wreck. And it took almost 2 years to see all that come to fruition. I didn't pay a dime out of pocket, but he was utilized as, the employee, or he kind of went after all the insurance that he could get after, for workman's comp, all that stuff. And it was, I mean, that's what it's there for. But um, had we not had the proper stuff in place, we could have probably had a little bigger issue than what we we should have had. Um, that's kind of the one that kind of sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
I've had other people, you know, I've had other things happen that the insurance took care of it, and we just kept moving right along. But this one just seemed to drag out for a long time because it was, um, yeah, I don't want to say much more than
No,
that.
somebody's going to be spiteful. They're going to be spiteful. So it is what it is.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
term hired and non-owned auto liability, that's one of the
yeah,
takeaways from the podcast Friday or the show Friday. Here's what I learned as well. So Jerry, we're working on with one of our partners, Changescape Web. We're finding a lot of opportunities within SEO, Google Ads, just optimization of the website. So we're going to be launching out here in the next probably week or two this program called Site Check 360, and we're just basically looking at your website and for a nominal fee doing an audit of your website, but also your SEO, kind of how it ranks out in the market. Here's another liability thing. I bring this up not because of that, but this came to light last week. We were on a call with one of our clients that we were doing the audit for, and there's a whole spectrum. I guess what's the best word I'm trying to think of? A whole spectrum of website use of websites. Like there is a group of people out there that are going out, and if websites are not ADA compliant, there's companies that are people who are finding that and suing those companies and taking large sums of funding. I've never thought about it. Maybe that's just naive on my part, but a website being ADA compliant, if it's not, you have the right to sue any website out there. And they used examples. It wasn't within our space, but this one individual had gone out to 4 different companies and it ended up suing them and won 4 times because the websites were not ADA compliant. So we'll talk more about that through the audit, but I was flabbergasted that was actually something that was out there. So you hear ambulance chasers with attorneys. Now you got website chasers as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I haven't heard of that before, but I just think it's the culture we live in, and I think people need to be, especially if you pay someone to do your website, make sure they do things according to the law and the way things should be. Those are, it's very important to do that. So that's interesting. It's crazy.
Crazy. Luckily, our idea you and I are working on bringing lawn darts back is not going to be a liability issue whatsoever. I think the metal pointies, just throw them as high as you can and see where they land.
Right.
I think we're safe
from
that.
Party favorite. We grew up tough kids. We ate dirt and we played with lawn darts. And that's what made us the people we are today. So,
Yeah, I was watching something this weekend on lawn darts and how they got outlawed. I think it was the 80s. I didn't get outlawed till the 80s. And most kids don't know what lawn darts are, but they were basically large darts with metal tips, and you threw them as high as you can to land into a circle. And I think a few people got poked in the head, maybe the eye, and a few other places. So
they were great. It was a great game,
it hit you
till some wham got hit in the head. It was like, oh, it hurt. Like, well, don't stand in the way, dork.
So, one other thing I want to bring up, and this was interesting. We're picking up some additional clients on our one-on-one mentorship, which is exciting. So we're looking forward to that. Sales and marketing are 2 of the biggest conversation pieces we're having. We're diving into operations, finance as well as technology. Speaking of, we'll have Taylor Riley this Friday to talk about CRMs. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with Taylor from Boom Facility Services. So we're looking for that. But let me bring this up. We saw this at Cleaning Cocktails a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of took it and made it our own. And I love what we've always done this, but we haven't really formally done this with clients. But we talk about ICPs all the time, ideal customer profiles. And what we find is most folks out there that are smaller in nature just kind of go out there and they get what they can get and they run with it. And what we coach on our side is really narrowing down the ICPs to a core 3, maybe 4 that you spend 80 to 90% of your energy, time, effort, marketing dollars into. And what this spreadsheet is just a quick way for you to kind of go through. And if you have your ICPs identified, that's the first step. But if you don't, and you want to identify those ICPs, this is basically a spreadsheet that allows you to grab 3 ICPs. You're going to grab the industry. So anything in green, you fill in. If you guys want access to this, email Jerry or Jerry at getroute.com. Email me at Jack at getroute.com. Happy to share this with you. But the industry you're going to plug in, the account type. So in this case, bank branch. Our service areas, we're going to put 25 miles. At that point, we're going into Google Maps. We're going into some scraping technology if you want to go that far. And we're identifying how many retail bank branches are in that service area within our zip code service area. So let's just say there's 250. We're looking at the average square footage of these facilities is 3,500 square feet. We know our production rate is 5,000. Again, I can change any of these numbers if I want to push this up to 5,900. Everything in white starts to automatically calculate. And what you get down to is, the average service frequency, but hours per week that we're actually cleaning per facility, what our loaded billing rate is per hour. And what we get down to at the end of all of this is we get to the point that we have our ICP 1, 2, and 3. We see the potential opportunity by week, by month, and by year. And so what we bring this up is maybe someone says, hey, daycares is one of my ICPs, funeral homes is one of my ICPs, Class C office facilities are ICP, solar panel cleaning could be ICP, whatever it may be. This is really going to be is there enough volume in your service area to make this enough volume, but also enough margin opportunity in your market to make this a sweet spot for you to go after? Again, you've got competition, but in this case here, if we went in and grabbed of those 250 locations, 3% of the market, which is only 8 bank branches, this tells us the annual opportunity for that is $34,600. So the question is 3% enough? Maybe we've got to go out there and get 10% of the market, which is $115,000. Again, that's one ICP. The second one here is another one. We grab 3% of the 20 daycares in the market. That's $36,000 a year in annual opportunities. Again, based on the metrics here. Same thing with multifamily. We see the margins we plug in. And what you see at the very end is basically an overall opportunity of these 3 markets, these 3 ICPs of around 35 million. And based on the averages up here, we grab 5% or 51 accounts. That makes us a $1.78 million company. Blended margins around 30,000. So gross revenues around $530,000. Again, this is just a nice little way to go through and say, am I focused on the right ICPs? Is there enough opportunity, enough margin, enough potential growth opportunity that if I keep going this number up here, can I get to where I want to be financially within my business and personally as well? So nice little tool. If you guys want access to it, happy to talk through it. But anyway, what's your thoughts on this damn thing, Jerry?
I like it. Obviously, I just like being able to know, okay, because here's what happens when you own a company and you're trying to press, you're trying to get going. And a lot of times we kind of feel like, I just don't know where to start, right? And their customers are out there. We just have to find out and figure out where they are, how to get to them, and then go get them. And I think a lot of people sit at their desk and like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I can't find them. And, let's use technology to benefit our industry now. 15 years ago, you couldn't pull up Google that I know of and get that kind of information, where now it's accessible to most everybody. So let's use technology to help us move our companies forward, and let's not feel sorry for ourselves like it's just not happening. Let's make it happen. Make it happen. Figure it out. Go hunt down those specific ICPs that you're looking for. So it's a great tool for sure.
Yeah. I saw a cool thing. I got to use this in one of my presentations at some point, but this guy comes into a presentation. There's a whole group of people and he puts some dollars in his hands and he holds it up. He's holding, call it $20. He just sits there, doesn't say anything. Reaches in the pocket, grabs another $20 bill, holding it. Just holding it. Everybody's like looking, what the hell's going on? He grabs another 20, puts it in there. Finally, someone gets up and walks up there and grabs the money out of his hand. He goes, that's exactly what I was waiting for. The opportunity is there. The money's there. The potential's there. The opportunity is, no one's taking it. And everybody sits back. And then he puts another dollar in his hands and somebody walks up right away. Well, you missed that first early adopter, that first kind of attack of going after that opportunity. So I thought it was a kind of poignant way to say, hey.
Right. And the thing that strikes me on that concept, that we heard about it, cleaning cocktails and all, the thing that strikes me about that is, if I just want 3% of that market, say you've got 3 ICPs across the board there, and in your area, if you wanted to get 3% of one, 3 or 5 or the other, whatever, you can pretty much see what size company you can have if you just put the work in and be patient. Now, identifying those and them coming to fruition, translating to a contract, it can take a little bit of time, but at least you're not sitting there. Well, I hope we get something today. You know, I
Yeah.
hope something comes in today. You got to do your work. I think there's a lot of people coming into the industry, and this might sound a little taboo. I don't mean it to be, but there's a lot of people coming in the industry and say, "Oh, this is an easy one to get into. Let me just get in and get going." It's not that easy.
Yeah.
I say it all the time that, the dream is free, but the hustle is expensive. So you have to get in there and do stuff and don't wait for it to come to you. Go get it. That's the key. And go get the ones that you want. That's what I wish a million times now we've had this conversation where I wish I would have gone after the ones I really wanted
Day one. Yeah.
earlier.
Day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So good stuff. Well,
yeah.
I think that wraps up for me. So we talked about liability issues that we learned about last week. We learned about ICP, kind of taking 3 to 4 ICPs and running with them and seeing what the potential is. So anybody wants access to that, feel free to drop an email to us, Jerry and I. If anybody's interested in learning more about our one-on-one courses or coaching sessions we have, reach out to us as well. But we're looking to kind of throw some information your way and see what comes of it. So I guess any final thoughts, Jerry?
Well, I think we should have dad jokes of the day. But I've got some good ones, but I guess we'll just hold on to them, So
I got accused of being a dad the other day, and I was fine with it, but it was not a place that I wanted to be accused of being a dad. I wanted to be kind of the cool guy there, and that's a dad
yeah,
joke. I'm going, crap.
yeah. Well, my daughter got me this morning. She sent me an Instagram post that it moved me at first because I was like, oh man, this is such a tough story, and it went along the lines of there was a kid in Texas who was in front of the court system, and his the judge was trying to find out where to put him because there's some family abuse there. His mom and dad beat him, and then they tried to get him to his aunt's house. And his aunt, he said, I don't want to stay there. She beat me too. Well, what about your grandparents? She said, no, they beat me too. And the judge kind of threw up his hands and said, well, I don't know what to do. Let's take a recess and you tell me what you'd like to do. And so they had a recess, and the 12-year-old consulted his lawyers. They called some, other people to get permission, and they came back, and the judge said to them, all right, son, well, what's your suggestion? He goes, well, if you'll just assign me to the Dallas Cowboys, I can't get beat there because they don't beat anybody.
Boom.
That's a horrible
Dad joke.
Horrible dad joke, but she got me. But I was all like, oh, this is a horrible story. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, whatever. So
Sets you up.
but
Really
yeah.
good.
But yeah,
All right.
anyway. All right.
See you Friday.